A whole new season of the British GT Championship is underway. We've had pre-practice, we've had pre-qualifying, and now qualifying itself is about to get underway. At a sunny Donington Park Grand Prix circuit, welcome everybody to the start of another fantastic season of racing. We've got some new names, some returning names, some drivers carrying on where they left off last year. Some really intriguing driver combinations as well. We've got new cars, new teams coming into the championship. We've got the new GT4 Endurance Cup. There is an awful lot to look forward to this season. The outside temperature, just over 23 degrees. It's sunny. There's quite a chilly breeze, but the track absolutely bone dry, and we're looking forward to qualifying. We, being David Addison and James Baldwin, who has won in British GT both in the real and virtual worlds, and having achieved both of those, now does the next best thing, which is to come and watch GT racing from the commentary box. James, welcome. Great to have you. This is going to be a really fascinating season, isn't it? Because the entry, as ever, is quality.
Yeah, good afternoon, David. Thanks for having me. It's a lovely day at Donington. Obviously, you know, being in the cockpit's the best thing, but if I was to choose anywhere else to be, it'd be sat next to you at turn one. Yeah, so it's going to be good. It's going to be a good season ahead. Round one's always really interesting to see who's hot, who's not, what the cars are flying, and they're about to get underway here for the start of the first qualifying.
Green light goes on. We'll have a word or two about Donington in a moment once they're on their outlet. Let's quickly go to the pit lane. No British GT pit lane would be complete without him. We can welcome back for another season of patrolling the pit road for British GT, Bryn Lucas.
Thank you very much. Contractual obligations there taken care of. Adders, yes, I am in the pit lane. It's very, very windy here. And I was talking to Marvin Kirchhofer earlier on. He said actually the wind out on track is quite tricky. Braking points into Redgate and also into the chicane as well. Sometimes you brake too early and sometimes you're braking too late. So it's very hard to adjust to the wind is what he's been saying. So I want to draw your attention as well to a car over my shoulder here. Car number 24, Andre Borodin and Ollie Webb. Now you might be thinking, why is that car not out of the garage? And that is because that is the sister car to the car that is out on track. A bit like the old T cars in Formula One. Andre Borodin likes to have a second car, and it's paid dividends because that car went out on Thursday in test. They had a bit of a problem with the turbo, so he switched to the other car and then decided this morning that actually wanted to stay with the second car after all. So that car, although it's perfectly fine, that 720S GT3 Evo, it's sitting in the garage, not going anywhere, and that is just what happens when you're Andre Borodin. He likes to have two cars. A lot of people to watch. Looking forward to seeing the Porsche out there is Sven Muller, and also don't forget Johnny Adam and Giacomo Petrobelli. That's going to be a very exciting duo to see how they do here at Donington Park. And we're about to get going with qualifying, so back over to you, Addis. Thanks very much.
Brent, thanks. Right, one big deep breath here with 8.5 minutes on the clock, because quick word about how qualifying works. Of course, 2 drivers per car, and for the endurance rounds like this, rather than the 1 hour races, when it's a longer race, you aggregate the times, so it's not just your lap, it's your co-driver's lap as well. You put them together, and that is how we're going to decide the grid. Here, Charles Dawson stepping up from GT4 to GT3 this year in one of the two 2Cs Mercedes with Kian Jewis. Welcome back to GT racing, because he's another very, very quick driver. Now, when James, you and I looked at the entry list a little while ago and were privately predicting who was going to get pole position, it's very, very hard to call, isn't it? Because all these combinations are quick in their own right, but there's no one standout, perhaps, that's going to be demonstrably quicker than another.
Yeah, at least that's how it seems on the face of it. There's no one standout combo. I think there's a few strong combos.
Yeah.
I think, you know, Martin and Mitchell in the Lamborghini, Kirchhofer and Tilbrook in the McLaren, so Shea and, you know, the Mercedes also look strong. So I think there's a few strong ones, but as you say, where would your money be? I think for me, Martin, Mitchell, Tilbrook, Kirchhofer for me. Let's see what happens though, eh?
Well, it is a bit that way, isn't it? Pin, entry list, put one in the other, really, exactly. And see what you come out with. Charles Dawson, who was really impressive last year in GT4, making that graduation to GT3. Now, he's, of course, been one of the first out. He's got the road absolutely to himself, totally clear circuit. That's a massive asset.
It is. It's interesting that Bryn was talking about wind speed affecting the car. You know, the other thing you've got to take into account here is the BOP that's always changing. So they might end up in qualifying with a bit more turbo boost or whatever it is that's going to give them a bit more grunt down the straight. So you get to turn 1 and you don't really know where the braking point is. So it's an ever-changing thing.
Now, this is the car that's looking quickest in the sectors. Green, remember, is a personal best. Purple is an absolute best, better than anybody. And Giacomo Petrobelli, who said to me at lunchtime, we've hit the ground running, goes through. And the lap time that he offers up was a 1:27.004. Not quite as good as Dawson, who did a 26.4. And the other 2Cs Mercedes of Kevin Scher has done a 1:26.866. That is Nick Jones, Team Parker Racing Porsche. Nick coming back to British GT. He was a winner here, you might remember, a few years ago in the Bentley, run by TPR, but with Porsche factory driver Sven Müller as a co-driver. Let's add that to the list of cars that should be there or thereabouts for pole position.
100%, yes, and already mid-26 on the first lap, so I think pre-quali, the quickest time was a 25.3 set by Sam Neary, so this is obviously the bronze-rated session, so I think we'll see 25s, definitely, in a couple of laps. The peak of the tyres, lap 2 or lap 3. So, yeah, they're going to have to get the job done very soon.
And you only get 10 minutes, so it's 2.5 mile lap. You can't leave anything on the table, can you? You've got to press on.
Yeah, it's very much 0 to 100 in one go. The Pirellis peak very early, so you've got to get out there and get on it, which is hard to do as a driver, but everyone doing a great job so far. Absolutely.
New Pirelli tyres this year, incidentally. The slick for today, P0 DHG, the new Pirelli tyre. The Honda has currently done an absolute best in the first sector in the hands of Chun Chung Ip. You are looking at Giacomo Petrobelli then, who's driven in Formula Palmer Audi. He's driven in the Blancpain Endurance Series. He's been a regular in UK racing, the Italian. He's based in the UK for a long, long time. He comes up to the timing line. He shares with Johnny Adam. He breaks the beam, goes second fastest on a 1:26.226. Kevin Scher has gone fastest by 0.294 of a second. Now that is the Honda NSX, the singular. Great to have the car on the grid.
It is, and I saw a statistic. It's the first time a Honda's been in British GT since the 90s. So, yeah, I would have been a very young guy back then. But yeah, really cool car, mid-engined. It looks great. So yeah, good to see it in British GT.
So over the timing line goes Chun Chung Ip, who has raced in this country in the past in monoposto single-seaters, club racing single-seaters, and he's put the Bridger Motorsport Honda 7th. This is the fastest car thus far. Kevin Scher then, the Macau-born driver, the Hong Kong driver, coming up out of Coppice, sharing as he did last year with Mercedes factory driver Maximilian Goertz. Comes down towards the S's, only a handful of corners to go. Just talk us through this next section, James.
Yeah, so you've got the tyre stacks left and right in the chicane, which are really, they're horrible from a driver's point of view because obviously you don't want to run into those. Going downhill then into the hairpin, which is tough because it's downhill, it's just hard to stop the car. And you can go into the ABS way too much and the stopping efficiency really gets quite bad. So, but decent apex there and good exit going into the final corner. You want to use the curb on the right, and then we've gone off board now, but looked good from what I saw there.
Charles Dawson's just gone fastest in the sister car, 1:26.347. Here in the very colourful 18, numbered Mercedes, Kevin Scher goes through, but that was a slower lap. It sort of unravelled in sectors 2 and 3 as Charles Dawson was doing absolute bests in sectors 2 and 3. So it's Dawson from Scher, and then Alex Martin's Barwell Motorsport Lamborghini is third, Giacomo Petrobelli fourth, and Morgan Tilbrook's McLaren, number 77, which is the Optimum run car, is now fifth. Back on board with Kevin Scher. This is the old hairpin, and again, look, he's got the road to himself.
Yeah, exactly what you want. You're not really going to get much of a toe around here, and I think dirty air is probably worse than the toe. So getting a clear track is definitely very important around here. 25.3 in this session is very quick. It makes me think the track is rubbered in, the temps are perfect, so there's a lot of grip out there. So we might see a new track record potentially in the next one. 23.6 from Marcello a couple of years ago, so yeah, that'll be interesting.
Richard Neary has been improving, but has also had a lap time taken off him for the dreaded track limit offences. This is Kevin Scher. Looked good, but it's not happening, is it? 2 sectors in yellow, slower than he had done earlier on. Is this coming back to what you said about the tyres peaking early?
Potentially, yeah. I think, lap 1's good, lap 2's really good, lap 3 is really good, and then lap 4, 5, 6, it just drops off, yeah. So I think, if he hasn't got the lap in already, then, yeah. But it's a lot of time to find those 6/10 between P1 and P2. That's massive.
And Charles Dawson, new to GT3, which is therefore even more commendable that he is the fastest. Over the line goes Kevin Scher, and that lap is not an improvement. Now, having said all of that, remember, his co-driver is Maximilian Goertz, who is in a Mercedes AMG GT3 every weekend somewhere. Kean Dewis will take over from Charles Dawson and is new to the car. So, ultimately, it should be advantage Scher and Goertz, shouldn't it, when Maxi does his second session time. That's the Nearys. Richard Neary at the wheel, and Richard is now 6th.
Yeah, and exactly, the pros are going to take over. Obviously, they're very familiar with these cars, the factory guys, so I'm really excited, actually, to see what lap times can be achieved with the pros. But, yeah, Sector 2, Martin, half second off. Sector 1 was okay, personal best. Let's see what he can do in Sector 3, because that will put him in the window for P2, P3 here.
Coming up to Goddard's then, over that little rise, turn left, the road drops slightly there, doesn't it? And then up towards the line. You've got to be a bit patient with the throttle, I guess, here.
Yeah, it's all about patience in these GT3s. If you overdrive, you just go slower, which is a bit counterintuitive to, I suppose, the untrained eye. But, yeah, smooth is fast. You just need to drive within yourself, and the lap time will come.
There is Morgan Tilbrook's McLaren, and off the road is the Honda. So Chun It off on the inside of the old hairpin. I suspect he's run wide and spun it across the road. Hopefully no contact involved, but 77 here, Morgan Tilbrook. Now, only, in quotes, 6th. Now, this was another car that we were anticipating good things from.
Yes, definitely, you know, good combo. Marvin's obviously one of the best GT drivers around, so I did see that car clip the tyre barrier actually in the chicane. I'm not sure how the track limits are working here at Donington. I don't know if that's an automatic flag if you clip the barrier, but yeah, pushing the limit, that's for sure.
Right, over the line goes Morgan Tilbrook. It's quicker, puts him up to 6th on a 1:26.275. Now this was clipping, was it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was quite a whack, isn't it?
No damage done. You can see that the front fender like wiggle, but it all stayed on. So yeah, the other thing you got to worry about through there as well is the wing mirror, which I've fell foul of in the past. I've clipped my wing mirror at that chicane, and yeah, it was a $4 grand mistake, which I'll never do again. Yeah, yeah.
$4 grand for a wing mirror. Just imagine, therefore, what the rest of the car starts to turn in on the spares invoice. Right, we have only got a second to go. Flag out. Time up. That was GT3 qualifying part 1. And Charles Dawson, hat tip, first time out of the car in anger, really, whatever testing he has done. But that's impressive. Assuming nobody else goes faster on this last lap, Charles Dawson is going to be there by over half a second. That's great going.
That's a mega lap. Yeah, and that puts his pro in really good stead going into the next one. Obviously, it's the average between the two that puts him on the grid. So, yeah, definitely a strong shout for pole, that number 42 car.
Yeah, Charles Dawson first came to prominence really.
He's actually improved 25.2 on the last lap.
He has, you're quite right. And yes, that last sector, an absolute best, even though he was down in the middle and down in the first. So 2 slower sectors 1 and 2, but an absolutely amazing third sector, enough to do the top time by nearly 7/10. Yeah, as I say, he came to prominence in GT4, first in Europe a couple of years ago, and then last year doing really well in British GT's GT4 category. And Charles Dawson proves himself to be an am well worth watching. This is the Simon Orange McLaren to take the flag as he goes by, and 5th he will be. That's going to put him top McLaren, isn't it?
Yes, I believe it is. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, I mean, it goes to show, you know, that 25.2 on the last lap, lap 7 of the stint. Maybe the tyre isn't as peaky as I originally thought on a day like today. So it's, you know, it's middle temps. It's not too cold, not too hot. So the tyres are clearly working well, also over a longer stint as well.
Yeah, so far what we thought we knew, we can throw away, can't we? Because
exactly.
Our predictions for pole aren't really working. The tyres, or this perhaps new tyre, is working in a different way from the old Pirelli slick. So yeah, fascinating to see it. Charles Dawson the quickest then from Kevin Share, second quickest. So the two C's Mercedes starting the season in great form. Giacomo Petrobelli third. The Aston normally does go well around here. 4th quickest Alex Martin, the Barwell Lamborghini ahead of Simon Orange, and then Morgan Tilbrook's McLarens. Number 1 of Matt Topham, subbing this weekend for Rob Collard. Rob, get well soon. He was 8th, and Nick Jones' Porsche was only 11th. Right, let's have a quick look at the order then. So Charles Dawson the fastest by very nearly 7/10 of a second from Kevin Shea. Giacomo Petrobelli was 3rd ahead of Alex Martin, with Simon Orange 5th and Morgan Tilbrook 6th. For Paddock Motorsport, Mark Smith's McLaren was 7th ahead of Matt Topham. Richard Neary only 9th. Then it was Chun It from Nick Jones. Andrew Howard quite a long way back, oddly, in his Aston, the 61-year-old. Mike Price 13th, and Andre Borodin in one of his 2 Greystone GT McLarens, completing the 14 that we have in GT3. So now, pause, change driver, same car, but it's going to be an even faster session next time around because you're going to get the higher graded drivers in. So Charles Dawson the fastest, and the pro drivers will be next. Let's look back though at GT3 qualifying 1 with the drivers making their way out on circuit with 2 C's, even though they were at the far end of the pit lane, being first out and therefore getting the best of the track positioning. Chun It was quick early doors in the Bridger Motorsport Honda. And Simon Orange was also very committed in number 67 McLaren, on his way to 5th in the times. Alex Martin was upholding Barwell's honour, 4th in number 78, of course having been fighting for last year's championship with Sandy Mitchell. It was Giacomo Petrobelli though, 3rd in the first non-Mercedes in the order, because it was a 2 C's lockout at the top. Maximilian Gertz takes over number 18 from Kevin Shea. That car 2nd in Q1. Cian Jewis takes over from an inspired Charles Dawson, who was fastest in Q1. Right, so we're ready to go for Q2, but before the lights go green, let's head back to the pit lane. Bryn Lucas has found people that are prepared to talk to him in this break. Bryn, all yours.
I am indeed. Charles Dawson's always pleased to speak to people, particularly when you perform like that. I mean, we're not used to seeing you in GT3, but what a performance.
Yeah, no, I mean, I wasn't really expecting that, to be honest with you. We put a lot of work in the car over the last few days, a lot of setup changes. And Kian, to be honest with you, Kian cracked on and found a really good setup for us. But yeah, it was a special lap. I really, I didn't expect to be going that quickly. So yeah.
It's a special lap and then another special lap.
Yeah, well, there was two. Yeah, the last one was even more special by 10. So, but you know, at the end of the day, it's it's for the first quality in GT3 of British. Yeah, I'm really happy, and yeah, there's a long season to go, and I think the car's working well here. I'm not sure the rest of the results were what the other manufacturers looking like, but you know the car was a bit weak here last year. Being honest, looking at some of the replays. So yeah, having a strong car has also helped.
Well, Kian is always understated. He's going to go out there and see how he does. But well done so far. Half a job done. Congrats.
Thank you. Cheers.
Yeah, fantastic effort that by Charles Dawson, as we've been saying, new to GT3. Quick reminder, it's not just that driver's time we need to worry about, it's the co-driver as well, and then you aggregate them. So it's the combined times of the two drivers. So in this session, we'll be talking about who is quickest potentially in Q2, but that order is not necessarily going to be the aggregate order. So you could be fastest in this, but if your co-driver was slower earlier, you could be 5th, 6th, for example. So there's a bit to unpack in all of this, but James, just reflect on Charles Dawson, new to GT3, but that's an outstanding effort to be quickest.
It is, and it's so strange to see it at the end of the session. It's just so rare, but I think there's an element of what separates the pros from the non-pros, and it's the ability to go out there and do it on lap 1, and I think we'll see that in this session. But still, 25.2 is quick.
Yeah, absolutely. Right, let's see what the pros can do then. Cian Jewis now has the pressure on him to match, if not better, Charles Dawson's efforts and go fastest in 42. He's just left the pit lane now. Sandy Mitchell here for Alex Martin in number 78 Lamborghini, trying to get everything up to temperature, coming out of Goddard's now, pulls the pin, starts the flying lap. Talk us through it, down to Redgate.
Yeah, so you're going to use all the track on the entry here, go over the pit line, brake hard in a straight line, trail off, don't engage the ABS too much. Use all the curb on the inside, let it run on the outside, don't scrub any speed. Down the Craner curves, obviously flat out, even in the GT3. And GT3s have a lot of downforce these days as well, as must be said. Opening up the right hand of the old hairpin. Really quick first sector, purple. And yeah, looked good through there. Down 2 gears to 4th gear, up the hill through McLean's. And you're going to open up the next right hander, use all the curb on the left. Sandy's a very precise driver. He does a lot of sim racing as well. He does a lot of training on the sim. So really neat, tidy driver and using everything available to him track-wise. So, yeah, it's a quick first lap. All the rear stepped away from him there in Coppice. It's a slippy corner, Coppice, so no surprises there. Going down into the chicane, braking as late as you can, but not too late, because you need to carry good speed through the chicane. Look nice and committed. Grazing both tyre stacks, purple middle, not purple first, so someone's gone purple in the first. And
that's Sven Muller.
Yeah, and so quickest time on the board, 24.8 by Neary first lap. Yeah. So yeah, track's quick.
Purple means better than anybody else, remember? So green is good, purple is what you're aiming for. Sandy Mitchell did have 2 purples, but Sven Muller has gone quicker than anybody in Sector 1. So now Sandy Mitchell comes up to the line. This should be the target time out of Q2. Breaks the beam, it is. It's a 1:24.396, but then there's Martin Lemmer of Barwell Motorsport looks on. This is Sven Muller, who is yet another of those outstanding Porsche drivers. He came out of the Porsche 1 Make series, Porsche Carrera Cup Germany, Porsche Super Cup, then into GT racing, and whether it's in National GT, European Le Mans, World Endurance, Intercontinental GT Challenge, you name it, Sven Muller delivers. Brilliant to have him in the championship this year. Let's see what he can do about going quickest of all. He's got to get it better than a 24.3, and it's only a 24.8. So Sven Muller ends the lap 4th fastest, and that car is going to be 6th on aggregate. What you have there on the timing tower is the aggregated order, which, as I say, is not the same necessarily as where we stand in Q2 in isolation. But number 78 Lamborghini, quickest in the hands of Sandy Mitchell and quickest on aggregate. This is Sam Neary taking over from his dad and goes through to do a 1:24.975 then. for Sam Neary's time, and we've just had Maxi Goetz put number 18 up to the top on aggregate. Maxi third, though, in Q2.
Yeah, and it's very tight between the top 3 on aggregate. You've got less than 3/10 between P1 and we've got a new aggregate P1 in Jewis, so yeah, that's quick. That's a quick time.
Yeah, Kian Jewis, who has gone by, is 5th in this session, his lap time, but you add that to what Charles Dawson did, and they're back at the top. Bragging rights, though, go to Charles, because he's got a pole to his name, whereas at the moment, Sandy Mitchell is quickest in this session, which has only got 4 3/4 minutes to go. I know it gets a bit confusing with talking about Q2 and the combined. It is the combined that gives you the grid. This is Kian Jewis, then, who came from the Ginetta ranks through GB3. He was Carrera Cup champion, and then went into GT World Challenge Europe with Team Parker Racing a couple of years ago. Barely raced at all last year, so it's good to have him back. I think Bryn made the point that Kian's a bit underrated, but very, very quick driver indeed, and making the run now in this 2Cs Mercedes down towards the S's. So this car on a 2:49.9 as the combined time is the fastest. Nice line through the chicane as well, up the curb but away from the tyres.
Yeah, and I'm seeing a few green sectors out there, so people still improving. I think they just need to get the laps together, but Sandy's on a quick lap, good sector 1, sector 2 was marginally down on his personal best, but I think we're going to see a few improvements here, to be honest.
One car that's a little bit disappointing, potentially, on aggregate, number 1, the reigning champion car, although Rob Collard is absent, his new co-driver to be, Hugo Cook, sharing with Matt Topham, only 14th on aggregate in GT3. Kian Jewis went across the line, stays top. This is Sandy Mitchell, who breaks the beam. He's done a 25.008. That is not the best lap that he's done. The best is a 24.3, so quite a margin there. But in this session alone, Mitchell to Goetz is 8/1000ths of a second. Goetz to Kirchhofer, Marvin Kirchhofer, who is third, is 2/1000ths of a second. And here, Maxi Goetz, look, has done an absolute best in the first sector. Let's stay with him. This, James, could be quite a lap.
Yeah, and if Jewis found a 1/10.5, he'd be P1 and he's 4th, so it's razor tight at the front. But yeah, this is a good first sector. Second sector, we've lost a little bit with Goetz, but I think we're seeing that. I think, you know, the Pirellis peak early, I think we saw that. The lap 1 and lap 2, everyone's done their PB, although Kirchhoff has just improved and gone P1 in the session with a low 0.3. Yeah, so I think we saw that tyre peak very early on.
I'm interested to know where Goetz lost that time, because half a second or so off in that middle sector is a real frustration. Let's see whether he can pull some of it back. Marvin Kirchhofer for McLaren has now gone fastest in Q2, 1:24.3. This is Maxi Goetz up towards the timing line. He goes by, and the lap is a 24.6. 2/10 down on his earlier best. Stays now third. So Marvin Kirchhofer, number 77, McLaren, is now fastest. That's the car that he's taken over from Morgan Tilbrook, and that in turn puts them 4th on aggregate. That's one of the cars we thought should be there or thereabouts, but makes you wonder what happened to Morgan. But not quite as quick in Q1, that car, as we anticipated.
Yeah, and P1's got a big gap in terms of the overall aggregate qualifying time to P2. It's 6/10ths, which is a lot of time to find. If you're car number 18, you've got to find, yeah, a lot of time to bridge that gap. So it looks pretty, you know, yeah, run wide there on the exit.
That's scrappy, isn't
it? He's pushing still, 24/7. So I think, yeah, P1's got it in the bag, if we're being honest, in terms of the aggregate time.
Right, so Marvin Kirchhofer rally crossing his way out of Goddard's. It was not an improved lap time. It was about 4/10ths down. But in fairness, it wasn't all because of that slide. He also lost time in the middle sector. Right, this is on board with Sandy Mitchell, who started well. He's still there or thereabouts. I mean, he's only 85,000ths down on the top time, which is the blink of an eye, but such is the competitive nature of the championship. It's pretty significant. Here he is on the Grand Prix loop, down to the Melbourne hairpin now.
Yeah, braking down the hill. Slow in, fast out. Get the nose in, pick up throttle. Be careful you don't break traction. That will just shed lap time, and he's got a bit of traffic in front, which even from that far back, you'll feel the effects of that dirty air a little bit at this level, given it's so close. You lose a little bit of downforce on the car, but this is an in-lap, he's boxing, and that's the end of the quali for Sandy Mitchell.
Yeah, not enough time to get back out and do a lap, so yeah, that's job done. This is Luke Garlick taking over the Honda NSX, and he is at the moment the slowest of the 14 that we have in Q2. So there's still quite a lot of learning for everybody around that project. That's Alex Martin with his back to you, who's done his job for today, and Sandy Mitchell's just brought the car into the pit lane. So Alex Martin sees that car provisionally to start third on the grid.
Yeah, and I think we've definitely, before this, we definitely overlooked Charles Dawson and Cian Jewis because they weren't on my radar for pole, but they've absolutely barnstormed it, especially from that first session. I think that was such an advantage, 7/10 going into this session. But yeah, Jewis has done the job as well. You know, he's within 2/10 of the outright quickest time here. So yeah, car 42 has nailed it.
Yeah, kind of scrub them off my list just because neither of them is that au fait with GT3 nor the Mercedes. But I mean, they've certainly delivered. As you say, Cian Jewis fourth, and he's only a 10th and a bit off the top time. There is Cian Jewis bringing the car out of the Melbourne hairpin ahead of Ollie Webb, who's taken over Andre Borodin's McLaren, but even that car's struggling a bit, 13th.
Yeah, and 1.1 seconds off the pace. Yeah, that's a lot. It signals to be the car's probably struggling in other areas, maybe setup, maybe a little bit of technical gremlins, whatever that might be. But that's a lot of time.
So still a few to take the checkered flag, which will include Cian Jewis, who goes by, but that lap was not an improvement. I don't think it ever really was going to be, but he takes the flag on the track. 1 or 2 more pound through behind him. Number 1, Hugo Cook, new to Barwell this year. Remember, we saw him last season in the J&S Motorsport Audi with Sasha Kachad. He moves teams, and he was 7th quickest, the Northwich driver. And there, down through the beautifully manicured Craner curves, having taken the checkered flag, go the cars. Donington looking magnificent this weekend for its first major event of the season. So this is how we look at the end of GT3 qualifying. The fastest in Pro-Am and outright, Cian Jewis and Charles Dawson. The fastest of the Silver Ams, Andrew Howard and Tom Wood, who are going to be 12th combined. Right, the order then is for the provisional front of the grid. Cian Jewis and Charles Dawson, 6/10 quicker on aggregate than Maxi Goetz and Kevin Shea. Sandy Mitchell and Alex Martin third ahead of Marvin Kirchhofer and Morgan Tilbrook. Johnny Adam, I don't think we even got to him, 5th with Giacomo Petrobelli. Marcus Clapton 6th with Simon Orange. The Nearies, Dad and Lad, 7th ahead of Hugo Cook and Matt Topham. 9th, Martin Plowman and Mark Smith ahead of Sven Muller and Nick Jones. Then Callum McLeod and Mike Price's McLaren ahead of Tom Wood and Andrew Howard. Luke Garlick, 13th in the Honda with Chun Chung Ip and then Ollie Webb and Andre Borodin, rounding out the GT3 front of the grid. So great job done by 2Cs, locking out the front row. Let's have a look at the best bits then of Q2, with the cars heading out on track, including number 77, this time Marvin Kirchhofer, McLaren factory driver, Sven Muller, Porsche factory driver, illustrating the level that we're dealing with now in British GT. Lamborghini factory driver, Sandy Mitchell, looking good in number 78. He was 2nd fastest in Q2. Fastest of all, though, at one point was Maxi Goetz, but he couldn't hang on. This was the car that would be 3rd, but 2nd on aggregate. 77 McLaren, though, 4th on aggregate, and fastest in Q2, courtesy of Marvin Kirchhofer, who in the end was 85 thousandths quicker than anybody else. Kirchhofer doing the top time in Q2 as the aggregated pole went to Charles Dawson and Cian Jewis. So that is the end of GT3 qualifying. Now we have the cars getting ready for GT4. It'll be a very happy Charles Dawson, not only with his own efforts, but Cian Jewis's, to put them at the pointy end of the grid for the opening round of British GT tomorrow. Let's go back to the pit lane and Bryn Lucas.
It's the pointiest of pointy ends, isn't it? Charles, you gave your teammate Cian such a great head start there with the 7/10, and he did so well out there. I think, was it 1.6 down?
Yeah, I mean, they're so tight at the top. The level of the top boys in GT3 is impressive. So, no, but yeah, gave Cian a healthy head start, and what a great way to start the season. But at the end of the day, we've still got tomorrow to do. It's a 2-hour race, so a lot can happen. And yeah, we've just got to do a nice, clean race. Hope for not too many safety car infringements, that everyone's ready to keep it on track. And yeah, just go into it and enjoy it.
Glass is half full. Well done. Well done.
Cheers. Thank you.
Charles Dawson then, very happy man indeed, stepping out of GT4 to GT3. Talking of GT4, track's already busy because this is Q3, this is the first part of GT4 qualifying. James, here we have to do a bit of a reset because although this is just as fierce a fight, the car's that little bit slower.
Yeah, and you know, it's slightly different driving style. You haven't got tyre warmers as well, so the warm-up process is completely different. And on average, these are about 8 seconds a lap off GT3, which sounds like a lot, but they're still quick cars. But yeah, slightly a lot softer, more like a road car. The GT3 is more like a thoroughbred race car. So yeah, but it's a challenge nonetheless.
And it's the same principle, 10 minutes per driver, and you aggregate the times. It is another varied entry with, as you can see, McLaren, Lotus, BMW. We've got Mercedes, Porsche, and Aston Martin represented as well. There is number 88, the Ian Duggan, Joe Wheeler, Mahiki Racing, Lotus Emira. And the car's heading towards a flying lap. Let's just quickly tidy up GT3 because the Silver Am pole went to the Beech Dean Aston Martin. Andrew Howard, the man behind Beech Dean, is with Bryn in the pit lane.
Yeah, and he's a very happy man as well. It's great to see you out here again. It looks like you've got a decent teammate this year as well, so you've got a good push for the overall, perhaps?
Yeah, Tom's done brilliantly. What, to be half a second off and, you know, only 1 second, 0.1 off Johnny, absolutely fantastic. I'm taking age into calibration, so my age distance is a lot greater than my second distance at the moment, so I'm fairly happy.
You put age into it, you've won the title, well done.
Andrew is modestly trying not to say that he's 61 years of age, but still very, very rapid. Came out of mini racing. He runs the Beech Dean Dairy Ice Cream concern. He was also a winner of the Philip Chariot Award for the SRO Awards last year, which recognises outstanding achievements by AM drivers. And Andrew is also the Motorsport UK representative within the FIA's sort of driver grading commission, if you like. He has a big voice in that for the AM drivers. I think I'm also right in saying he's on the board of a football team like High Wycombe FC, if there is such a thing or something. So he's a man of many parts.
I was a season ticket holder at High Wycombe
Were you?
once upon a time, and Beech Dean ice cream is very nice.
It
Just
is.
get that in there as
Yes,
well.
yes. Well, that's every box ticked, I think, now, and Andrew Howard, yes. The successes of High Wycombe FC we can worry about during a safety car period.
Exactly, yeah.
This is John Curry in the nostalgically coloured Mercedes. It carries the DTM retro livery of 91, 92, 93, there or thereabouts. This is the Ed McDermott Mercedes coming down through the Melbourne hairpin, also run by Team Parker Racing. Ed McDermott, great character, and you'll see on the side of his car, there it is, coming towards us, the Black Dog represented on the side of it, which is My Black Dog, the mental health charity. And Ed raising awareness of that by carrying it aboard the car this year, and it's a very merit-worthy concern. So My Black Dog on the side of one Mercedes. Ed McDermott had either bad luck or no luck last year, so he definitely deserves some good fortune, although he's rather alarmed to find the season starting at Donington, where he had his very first race, which he was leading until the car retired on the last lap. So it's not the happiest of circuits for him. However, we know that he's good. There, number 90, Mark Warren, who is ex-Ginetta, ex-Porsche, second year of British GT, and an outstandingly quick AM.
Yeah, and I think with this session as well, in a way it could be more exciting because of the tyre warm-up procedure. You're going to see the quickest times at the end because the tyres just keep getting warmer and there's more grip, and then as a driver you find more lap time. So yeah, 33.4 to set us off, but I think we'll be down in the 32s in a short while.
And no GT4 entry is complete without a Porsche Cayman 718. This is the Rob Boston Racing run car for Will Burns, making a welcome return to the championship. He was GT4 champion in British GT back in 2021. He has raced in the British Touring Car Championship, in Carrera Cup GB, in GT4 European Series. Came out many, many moons ago of the Castle Combe Saloon Car Championship, and probably its highest profile graduate. Will, quick driver, and he shares with Jamie Orton, Caterham champion. So over the line goes the Cayman, and that lap he's going to put Will Burns third fastest, 84. Another of the Mahiki Lotus. This is looking good. This is Aidan Neat with 2 purple sectors to his name.
Yeah, purple. So hopefully a purple third sector might see us going to the 32s. Going into the last corner, using most of the track on the entry, and seems to get it stopped quite nicely. Not purple in sector 2 anymore. Who's gone purple sector 2? Hard to say at the minute. But yeah, across the line. Low 33, okay, nice. Get in there.
Yeah, Aidan Neat, ex-single-seater racer. His father was a one-mate racer, saloon car racer, briefly in the BTCC. This is Mark Warren, who is the answer to your who's gone purple in sector 2 question. There it is, getting past another of the McLarens on that drag up the hill. It was 17 he overtakes, which was second quickest. Harry George getting out of the way. So Mark Warren lost a little bit of time in sector 1. Good sector 2, and sharing with last year's GT4 champion Jack Brown. This looks like it's going to be a good lap. Goes through. Second fastest Mark Warren, and he is 95 thousandths down on Aidan Neate.
Yeah, and I think, you know, with that lap we're seeing, you know, there's obviously some drivers are strong in some areas and some are strong in other areas, but you'll also see that with the cars as well. The McLaren may be really good in sector 2, but the Lotus might be better in sector 1. So that's, I guess, the beautiful thing with BOP and GT racing. Is strengths and weaknesses make it different. If it's all the same, it would be a bit boring. So.
Yeah, and different cars have strengths at different parts of the circuit. You know, around here you could be good through the corners. Other cars could be well suited to the fast sweeps, and over the course of the lap, it all balances. And Aidan Neate, you'll do it, is absolutely on the limit, isn't he? Getting it a little bit crossed up through the S's there, but this is another very, very committed lap. Look, 2 absolute bests in those first 2 sectors.
Yeah, just going quicker and quicker now, every car pretty much. So as they get more confidence, more tyre temp, more grip, and you can see the other Lotus letting him through there. But again, using all the track on the entry into the last corner, and it's a really short run to the line. You don't really need to prepare the exit too much on the last corner. On a qualifying lap, in the race it's different. But yeah, 32.8, so comfortably by 4/10 P1.
Very, very good effort, and Aidan Neate sharing that car with Josh Miller, who is another quick young gun. This is Ravi Ramyeed in the BMW M4. Still looks very touring car-esque, the M4, but it's a quick GT car. We saw it winning at Snetterton last year, sharing with Charlie Robertson, who we'll see in the next part of qualifying. Ian Duggan's Lotus, interestingly, 88, has pitted without having done a lap time, so there might be a problem for 88. That could be one for Bryn to go and investigate for us. But the BMW of Ravi Ramyeed is heading downhill, and he's 5th in GT4, looking strong, that car.
Yeah, and talking about strengths and weaknesses, I know motorsport's meant to be a non-contact sport, but if you were to have contact, you'd like to be in that BMW, I think, wouldn't you? It's huge, enormous car.
You'd feel well protected, yeah.
Yeah.
Number 41 Porsche, Will Burns. Good lap with 2 greens, but not good enough to be purples. Purple's what you want. This car currently 4th fastest. He's only 3/10ths down, but that's tough to find. Comes up to the beam. Let's see what he can do. Stays 4th. So that lap, a 1:33.435. So it was an improvement, but not enough to haul him up the order. Only 2 more minutes of the session to go.
Yeah, and I think we'll see some improvements here later on. I think both McLarens look strong. The Lotuses seem a bit mixed. You've got obviously Neate in P1, but then you've got one in the mid-pack and one at the back. So a mixed bag for the Lotus cars.
All helps the BOP though, that. You know, if you had all 3 at the front, people would start pointing.
Tomorrow would be a bad day for them. Yeah, exactly. yeah, totally, yeah.
Right, this number 17 we're on board with is Harry George, Luca Hopkinson's car. Harry George at the wheel of it, and this is the Optimum Motorsport Run McLaren. 2 really quick young guns in this.
Yeah, all trying to prove themselves. You know, silver, obviously aspiring pros, want to be golds and platinums one day. So this is a perfect platform to prove that. And yeah, qualifying is one of those key areas where you as a driver can really showcase what you're all about, what pace you've got, and how good you are, basically.
Indeed. Over the line then, 2nd fastest, Harry George, 2/10ths down. Let's check in with Bryn once more. Lotus issues, not just the team manager, Joe Osborne. Bryn, there's something else.
No, not just the team manager's problem or issue at all. Unfortunately, the car going into this session had an electrical problem. It seems to have come back and bit them again. So it looks like that's curtailed their session, unfortunately. So they have to start from the back if they can get it up and running once again.
Thanks. So that's 88. Ian Duggan not doing a time. If you don't do a time, therefore, clearly, you're going to have to go to the back of the grid. Number 17 is still pushing, although down in Sector 1. So this is Harry George, another graduate of the Ginetta Junior ranks. That's number 69, Lotus, which is, if you like, the one in the middle of the 3. One's obviously got a problem. One's on pole, and that's in the middle. It's driven by Stephen Lake at the moment, who is the man behind the team. But he shares with Jack Mitchell, who's been a champion in GT4 in the past, and he's raced deep breath, well, pretty much everything, whether it's been touring cars or he was a champion in China GT. Another very quick, if underrated driver. Number 14 BMW, Chris Sulkeld, only 8th. Bit of a surprise, that.
Yeah, I've raced with Chris last year at the 24 Hours of Spa in Garage 59 with the McLaren GT3, not GT4. And yeah, Chris, lovely bloke, going well. Hopefully he's going to improve on this lap to go up the order. Very different car this to what he drove with me last year, the BMW GT4. Completely different car altogether. And yeah, exit in the last corner, will he improve?
Sector times would say no. Checkered flag is waved. Over the timing line goes Chris Sulkeld, and he's only about a 10th down on what he did, but down is the key word. Will Burns, in the meantime, dancing the Cayman through the S's, still hustling on. 2 personal bests, but he's dropped in the order, hasn't he? He's down to 5th now behind Ravi Ramyid.
Yeah, and just to stress how important qualifying is, tomorrow, obviously get points at the end of the race, but you also get points at the 1 hour stage as well. So track position in that early stage of the race is key. So you can break away, keep that lead, get the points at the halfway mark, and ultimately have the longevity to finish the race at the front as well.
So up to the timing line comes Will Burns, does gain a place back, goes 4th. This is John Curry, who came into British GT at the back end of last season and enjoyed himself, and has got Phil Keane, who along with Johnny Adam, don't forget, has got the most outright race wins, 19. Well, he ain't going to add to that this year. He might get class wins, but not outright wins, unless it's a really extraordinary event.
Well, yeah, that would be quite something. Has that ever I don't think that's ever happened before, is it?
No. Over the line goes John Curry. Quite a day when it does. And he ends the session 9th out of the 12 in GT4. I think he'll be okay with that. And here you can see the driver changes going on around the fastest car. So Aidan Neate coming in early to give Josh Miller ample time to sort himself out. And that's a good effort from the Lotus. Good effort by Aidan Neate as well.
Yeah, the Lotus looks strong when it's in the right hands and hooked up. But
let's have a look at the order then at the end of Q3, with the fastest in GT4 Pro-Am being Mark Warren in the silvers. It was 84 of Aidan Neate in the Endurance Cup. Ed McDermott the fastest, and in the silver Endurance Cup, that class being claimed by Will Burns. Aidan Neate ahead of Harry George and Mark Warren. Burns 4th from Ramyid, McDermott, and then Stephen Lake 7th. And no time for the 3rd of the Mahiki Lotuses. Ian Duggan's car having that electrical gremlin that has really kept that in the pit lane. It sort of tried to do an out lap and a flying lap, but it wasn't to be. So that car's going to have to start at the back of the grid. Right, so we have got one more part of qualifying to come, but in a day of firsts, Aidan Neate comes into British GT and takes a pole position at the end of his stint in qualifying. He's no doubt a very happy man. He's with Bryn Lucas.
Yes, indeed, a day of first. Well, Josh has got to go out and do the business in the second session, of course, but Aidan, this is a brilliant start for you.
Yeah, really pleased. Everyone here at Mahiki Racing, all the support from Lotus has shown it's really paid off in the first session of the year. My full trust in Josh, we can go out and get it done. So, yeah, what a start to first ever British GT weekend. Second or third proper day in the car. Really pleased. So we've got a lot more work to do.
The fact that you're a silver pairing means you've got a bit more pit stop compensation time when it comes to the pit stop tomorrow. You've got to have a bit more weight put in the car for the race as well tomorrow. So you do need a bit of a head start going over that line tomorrow come race day.
Yeah, of course. It always makes the race easier when you start at the front, especially with the penalties, as you said, that we've got to serve. So if we can start at the front, it will make our lives that little bit easier. But wherever you start here, there's a lot of competition, a lot of good drivers, so we'll still be a good race.
Certainly should be. Well done.
Awesome. Thanks very much.
Those penalties that Aidan Neate's talking about, 24 seconds served for the silver entries within GT4 in the pit window in the race tomorrow, but that's something else we'll factor in when we get to that point. Tomorrow, 2 hours of racing. Now, while Q4 gets set to go, let's look at Q3, part 1 of the GT4 session. Ed McDermott, John Curry first out. The Lotuses, though, were rapidly up to speed. Stephen Lake getting 7th in the times. Good effort by the Ravi Ramyid BMW. That would be 5th come the end of GT4 qualifying. The Porsche that it was battling with of Will Burns eventually getting itself up to 4th right at the very end of the session. Mark Warren joining Jack Brown in number 90 McLaren this year, the Optima Motorsport run car, 3rd fastest, and 2nd, the best of the McLarens, going the way of Harry George. But it was 84 Josh Miller's car with Aidan Neate at the wheel that was fastest in Q1 for GT4. Right, we are ready to go. The fast lane open. The driver's now waiting the light to go green at the end of the pit lane. Peter Daly, the race director, keeping an eye on the clock, says, right, let's go. And out blasts Charlie Robertson. So remember that we're taking the times that the first driver has just set and adding them to the lap time set by this driver. So it is a combined lap time per car to determine the grid. And you'll have the GT3 cars all ahead of the GT4. So for safety reasons, really, off the start, rather than should it actually happen that you have a jumble of times, largely anyway, GT3 are all quicker than GT4, but you'll have all the GT4 cars behind GT3 for safety purposes. One or two, interestingly, straggle, don't they? Some absolutely on the toes, they want to be first out, want to be in the queue. Others taking their time, let the traffic go, try and get clear track space.
Yeah, in a 10-minute quali session as well, I'd be tempted to just get out there and get in a rhythm, especially with no tyre warmers, and just get on it. But yeah, 32.3 is the GT4 qualifying lap record round here, which I'm intrigued to see. That might be beaten, in the first session, 32.8, which is only half a second off. Because obviously they fuel the car for the entire of qualifying, so the fuel's now burned off, stick new tyres on it, should see some quick times.
It's a lighter car as Phil Keane makes his way down the pit lane. It's going to be really interesting, isn't it, to see how Phil fares against the young guns. I'm not for a moment suggesting he's over the hill, far from it, but GT4 in the recent seasons has very much become drivers coming up from, if you like, Ginetta Junior racing, and here is an old stager of British GT who knows almost every trick in the book.
Yeah,
it's going to be interesting to see how that battle pans out.
Yeah, you're right. It's been a stepping stone, isn't it? But going back down to a car that's got less downforce and stuff, it'll be tough. But I think if the raw pace maybe isn't quite there with others, that experience is going to get him through a lot of situations. On a rainy day, when there's a drying track on slicks, that's when he'll come into his own.
I don't think the lack of downforce will phase him, because Phil was a regular hero in John Minshall's Lister Jaguar in historic events with no downforce and skinny tyres. So that I don't think will be a problem at all. Yeah, but versatility will count. But yeah, it's going to be so interesting over the course of the year in GT4. I mean, it could be Phil Keane. We talk about setting the fastest time within this session. Could be Charlie Robertson here in the BMW, because he's another star name within the GT4 ranks for so many years, associated with Ginetta. Flew the nest a couple of years ago and has found a very happy home with Ravi Ramyeed in this Century Motorsport Run BMW. And that car making its way out of Coppice, looking as though it's the front of the queue. Yeah, so nobody really around front nor back.
Yeah, and the dirty air isn't as prominent in a GT4, so you haven't got to worry too much about traffic compared with a GT3. The downforce loss isn't that big, but still clear track, less distractions. It's one less thing in your eye line, so you can really focus on nailing your braking zones and your apexes and stuff. So clear track is always paramount.
Another star name, Jack Mitchell. I touched on him earlier on. He's going to be one to watch in number 69, the Stephen Lake Lotus. And here up towards the timing line then comes number 71 BMW. It's amazing how quickly the clock ticks on down, isn't it? We haven't yet got a lap time, and we've only got 6 3/4 minutes to go. You have an out lap to do, 2.5 miles, then your first flying lap. That's just been completed. Jack Mitchell is the faster of the two, actually, out of him and Charlie Robertson by 2/10, so 1:32.7. So he's bang on the money straight away. Jack Brown goes faster yet, 32.6 for the reigning GT4 champion. That's a good starting lap, isn't it?
It is, and just walking through the paddock earlier and speaking to various McLaren personnel, apparently McLaren GT4s have been struggling a little bit on braking and overheating of the brakes. So maybe the longevity in this session, maybe it'll be a thing in the race tomorrow actually, through a stint, will their brakes give them a bit of trouble?
Yeah, because you've got those two heavy braking zones, haven't you, of the Melbourne hairpin and Goddard's?
Yeah, Goddard's particularly. Yeah, that's a real one. So yeah, that'll be interesting.
Now, going back to an earlier point about experience, Phil Keane, absolute best Sector 1, personal best, as it would be on his first flying lap, Sector 2, but this should put number 30 Mercedes up near, if not at the very front of the grid. Here he comes then, Phil Keane, who raced Formula Renault single-seaters, he raced TVR Tuscans, he's been in British GT, it seems like forever, and makes the run now up towards the timing line. Let's see where this is going to drop the Mercedes then. Might not necessarily be the fastest, but it's almost at the front. Fourth quickest he goes. Phil Keane then goes by, and actually shown as being the fastest, 1:32.129. So he does go top. He's fourth on aggregate, yes, forgive me. So Phil Keane is the fastest by 43 thousandths. This is Seb Morris sharing with Ed McDermott, and he is second now. Seb Morris second fastest.
Yeah, and to prove that the track has come on and is quick, and maybe the GT4 cars as well, both times they have beaten the qualifying lap record by 2/10. So we're going to see more improvements as well. So yeah, quickest GT4 laps we've ever seen at Donington Park.
And here's another quick driver, Stuart Hall, whose father Peter was a mainstay of production saloon car and British touring car racing in the 70s and 80s, Peter Hall, but Stuart, who races whenever he can. He's in the Endurance Cup this year. He looks after old Goethe's Rothgo collection. And when he's not doing any of that, he's out running marathons and half marathons, seems like every day. But Stuart, fourth at Le Mans many years ago, very accomplished driver. He'll be one to watch with Peter Montague. This is Seb Morris, looking good out of sector 1. The driver from North Wales coming down now into the S's, and he's chunked a bit of time in the middle sector.
Yeah, and just keeping an eye on the times, David. There's 1,000th of a second between P1 and P2 on aggregate, so that is immensely close.
It's nuts, isn't it? 1,000, taking 2 drivers and combining the times. Yeah, that's just extraordinary. Both McLarens as well. So this is over the timing line in the background. Phil Keane, who is faster still. And this is Seb Morris. So Phil Keane's car, quickest in Q2, but on the aggregate, 6th. But yeah, 1,000th between the GT4 top 2. That is quite something. Seb Morris goes by, still second in Q2, 4th on aggregate.
Yeah, and just trying to think of things that would result in 1,000th time loss. You know, it's not even a bad shift. That's literally, that's nothing. If you saw that side by side at the finish line, that would literally look like a dead heat.
Yeah.
So,
It is amazing. This is Jack Brown who goes by, and this is the car that is fastest on aggregate. So this was the quickest car. I'll try again. It's ruined our 1,000th of a second story because Josh Miller has put number 84 Lotus that was quickest with Aidan Neat, now quickest on aggregate. So Josh Miller has gone 6th in Q2, but over a 10th faster on aggregate.
Yeah, that first the first quali lap time from his teammate really helping them out there on aggregate. So almost a two-tenth advantage on aggregate is pretty large at this stage of the session. What is there? So probably 1 or 2 more laps for people to improve. Jack Miller going purple in sector 1. So he's starting to find time in that Lotus.
Yeah, he is getting faster and faster all the time. Josh Miller, absolute best then in the first sector, and again with good traffic management from the team. In splendid isolation here, he's on his own without having anybody to either get out of the way of or have to find a way past, because the last thing you need when you're on a push lap is to have to dodge around a car, however quick or slow that may be.
Yeah, that is part of the skill of a quali, is to be able to make room for yourself, because it all starts at the beginning. If you can make that room for yourself, drive into that space so you don't have to slow down and interrupt your flow, but also the tyre temps as well will drop if you do that. So having a clean running quali is worth so much, and I think Jack Miller's on one here. Big slide out of the hairpin there.
Yeah, it's quite a moment, isn't it, that? So Josh Miller up now towards Goddard's. An absolute best, a personal best. So the car fastest on aggregate, 6th in this part of the qualifying session, breaks the beam, and up to 5th goes Josh Miller in Q2, and therefore stretches the margin on aggregate to 0.2 of a second over everybody else with 96 seconds on the clock.
Yeah, and I would presume his team would be telling him this and sort of updating them and updating him on the progress, and that will motivate him to push on even more. You know, you've got over a 2/10 lead on aggregate, so I mean that's how I work anyway. I like to hear from my engineer, how's it going, just so you can sort of gauge, do I need to push more, do I need to back it off, am I fine, do I need to take that risk, because it is risk reward at the end of the day.
So just on that timing tower, confirming the session, in other words, this 10-minute stanza, Phil Keane the fastest by 43 thousandths from Seb Morris and then Jack Mitchell. We're talking about this number 84 Lotus being the fastest on aggregate, taking Q1 and 2 for the GT cars in account, and it is the fastest from number 90 McLaren and then number 17 McLaren. And it looks to me as though now Josh Miller has backed it right off, so work done. Knows he can't go any faster. You'll probably see that on the Delta, and the team will be looking at the sector times as well.
Yeah, and sometimes if you've nailed a lap, you know, it's pointless continuing. The track might get slightly quicker, but if you've nailed the lap, which maybe he has, then it's just pointless using more of that tyre. You may as well save it, less risk, come back to the box.
Number 37, pressing on. This is John Ingram at the wheel. John, who was a Caterham and Formula 3 racer going back quite a long time, coming up now towards the right-hander of Coppice, and for the charismatically entitled Jolt Racing, 37, John Ingram, slowest in Q3, and they are 11th in the aggregated times. In fact, 88 Lotus didn't get out again, did it? So it was in strifing in the first part of GT4 qualifying, and the strife remains. It's not been able to go out in this part either. Checkered flag out. Well, I have to say, the next time you and I get together with any predictions, we'll not bother, really, because we were spot off all the way through that. That's been a session of surprises.
Which is exactly what we want. That's,
Absolutely.
You know, live sport, that's what we tune in for. So I honestly can't call the race tomorrow. It's going to be so unpredictable, but that is British GT for you.
It's going to be a good season, isn't it, on the evidence of qualifying, which has produced plenty of surprises and plenty of talking points. I think we might have got one thing right, which was Phil Keane being quickest in GT4 in his part. We'll hang on to that, if nothing else. So not on combined times, but on session times, Phil Keane quicker by 43 thousandths. I mean, that's 7 GT4 cars in that part of qualifying alone covered by less than a second, just to illustrate how fast it is. And a very happy Mahiki Racing squad then. Josh Miller helping to put that car up to the top of the times. And a happy team manager of Joe Osborne will be down there, no doubt. Smiling from ear to ear. I think, Bryn, he can keep the job, can't he, on the evidence of that?
I think he can keep the job and the baseball cap as well. Joe, a new job for you. We're used to hearing you in our commentary ears the whole time. It's a joy to not have you in my ears so much, but well done to you. What a fantastic weekend in your new role.
Yeah, I mean, pleasure's all yours, coming to speak to me, and yeah, completely different role. First time as a team manager. Been in British GT for quite a few years now. Feel like I've done every role now, so this was the last one to tick off. And yeah, 3 cars is a tough ask. We've been playing with an issue on the 88 car, so that's a big shame for Ian Duggan and Joe Wheeler. But on the other end of the scale, we're on pole position with Miller and Neat, so that's mega, and we're somewhere in the mix with the 69 car as well. So 3 cars and Peter Daly in my ear. I sleep well every evening now.
Got a question from David Addison though for you. He wants to know if that's your first ever pole position.
It hurts, and it shows you that his lack of intelligence forgets all the ones I've had here in the past in British GT. So thank you, David. Appreciate that, pal.
It's a great start. Best of luck tomorrow. Well done, Joe.
Thank you very much. Cheers, guys.
So Joe Osborne then, who has, as he says, raced and talked about and now team manages within British GT, can be a happy man with Mahiki Racing then taking the silver pole, Pro-Am to Optimum Motorsport in the Endurance Cup. The Pro-Am pole goes to Team Parker Racing and the silver pole to Rob Boston Racing, the car of Jamie Orton and Will Burns. Right, so 2 elements of GT4, add them together. This is the front of the grid. Josh Miller and Aidan Neat take pole position from Jack Brown and Mark Warren, and then Luca Hopkinson and Harry George third. Seb Morris, Ed McDermott next from Charlie Robertson and Ravi Ramyeed, and the top 6 rounded out by Jack Mitchell and Stephen Lake, with 88 Lotus, as we were saying, not getting out with that electrical problem, therefore not doing a time. It'll start from the back of the grid as long as all is cured with that car going into tomorrow's race. So great stuff within the GT4 qualifying session. Phil Keane 7th, but the man that was fastest in that final element of the session. Cars coming down the pit lane. Some heading to scrutineering, make sure all is as the regulations dictate with the cars. And tomorrow's race starting at 12:45 here at Donington. 2 hours of racing, so a proper endurance race for the teams to start the season with. And it's, again, a wide open race across both the GT3 and GT4 classes. And, of course, within GT4, the first round of the Endurance Cup, which won't be, obviously, every event. Some of the events will have the 2 1-hour races, but we've got 4 Endurance Cup rounds to look forward to as well over the course of 2025. So let's have a quick look at the highlights of Q4. Q2 for GT4, if you like. Stuart Hall pressing on and getting a bit leery over the curbs down at the old hairpin in the black and purple Aston Martin. We had Seb Morris charging along and being 2nd fastest within this session, but ultimately that car 4th on the aggregated times. Fastest was Phil Keane. He did a time 43 thousandths faster than anybody else, but that was only good enough to put the car 7th on aggregate. 3rd on aggregate to Luca Hopkinson and Harry George's McLaren, behind number 90, Jack Brown, taking over from Mark Warren, which in turn was 0.227 of a second back from Aidan Neat and Josh Miller, who came through to be fastest. And that sets us up for a really intriguing opening round of the championship tomorrow as British GT kicks off here at Donington Park.